Hey buddies, Pugga here, coming at you with another Borderlands 3 video. Today I'm going to be showcasing a great combo we have here with the Sleeping Giant gun and really any amp shield you want. This particular build does great at dealing tons and tons of damage without ever having to reload, so if you never want to reload, this is your type of build. It does use certain terror anointments, so if you don't have these two particular terror anointments, it's going to be a little bit harder. You can definitely change your skill tree to make it so you get more ammo without terror. There's a way to work around it, but the easiest way to do it is just get these particular terror anointments. I have while terrified gain ammo regeneration. The more terror you have, the higher the bonus. This increases our ammo regeneration by a crap ton. It's really crazy. And then we have on action skill N, apply terror to yourself every 3 seconds for the next 18 seconds. Very good ability. You could get that on shields or grenades. It's very easy anointment. I found tons of those, so use any type of grenade you want. It doesn't matter what grenade you have. I personally have it on It's Piss. I wish I kind of had it on a different grenade, but it doesn't matter. What matters is the anointment. Now, I wouldn't have been able to make this video possible without DapperHamsteaks. Now, DapperHamsteaks is a friend of mine on Reddit. He is absolute genius on calculations with the game. He helps me with all of my Borderlands 3 math, theory crafting with a bunch of builds. He's absolutely wonderful. He always helps me with every single build, tells me what I could do better, and the weapon we're using, of course, is the Sleeping Giant. Now, the Sleeping Giant does a great job at dealing tons and tons of damage really quickly, as long as you get the right reload perks. Now, for those of you who don't know, Sleeping Giant has 6 reload perks. 2 times damage, 2.45 times damage, increase reload speed, increase fire rate, increase accuracy, and increase handling. Now, you can get either 0 or all of the buffs all at once every time you reload. There is a 33% chance that you get all the buffs at once, which is what we're looking for. The easiest way to just try to get the buffs is just to shoot your gun and reload it. So just keep shooting and reloading until you get to the desired bonuses. Now, it's kind of hard to tell what bonuses you're going to get. What I look for when trying to get the bonus is seeing a bunch of red lines like that. Now, what the red lines means is that you are getting the best bonuses possible, because otherwise your bullets look like this. All you're looking for is tons and tons of lines like this, and you're good to go. Once you get that, you want to just enter exit Iron Bear and just get the ammo regeneration and make sure you never reload or swap weapons. As soon as you swap weapons, you will lose the bonus, which is really unfortunate. The only other thing that we use primarily to make this build good is a Pearl. Very good artifact for any build that fires a tons and tons of bullets. There's our go-to artifact. Otherwise, we could use a Deathless. It doesn't really matter. The reason why I say a Deathless is because we use a Bloodletter. Now, Bloodletter gives all the health we gain as shield, and that's very important. We have an amp shield, so what we do is use a skill called Rushing Offensive. Now, what Rushing Offensive does, it allows you to shoot and sprint at the same time. When you shoot and sprint at the same time, you get life steal, so your bullets are constantly reloading your shield, and you're getting tons and tons of life steal, so you're just constantly getting a ton of amps, and you're reloading all your bullets, so it's like every single bullet turns into an amp shot for the most part, and it just absolutely increases our damage to insane amounts. We use a fire, corrosive, and shock Sleeping Giant. My shock Sleeping Giant isn't preferable. It has fire 2 bullets at once. We want one that doesn't shoot 2 bullets at once, like these 2 extended Sleeping Giants. Now, the preferred anointment for the Sleeping Giant I found to deal the most amount of damage is after exiting Iron Bear, the next 2 magazines will have 125% bonus incendiary damage. Now, since we're not reloading, you know, all our bullets will have the bonus forever, and we have a corrosive and a fire depending on your situation. For the most part, I keep the fire out because a lot of enemies are flush, but if you're expecting to have a lot of armored enemies, I would keep the corrosive out because you're able to deal corrosive and fire at the same time, so you're just dealing tons of damage there. This build primarily optimizes Moze, right? But you could also use Iron Bear. We have a ton of skill points that increases Iron Bear damage as well. We have Desperate Measures, we have Auto Bear, and since we have like Auto Bear as well, this allows us to enter exit Iron Bear without worrying about being in him long, because we don't really want to be in him. This allows him to just shoot and be basically our turret for long periods of time, and he absolutely wrecks face on Mayhem 10 level 65. He just has crazy Mayhem Multipliers. Now, the trick to this is to constantly be trying to run. Now, it's really easy on bosses to be running, but the trickiest part is to mob and run at the same time. A lot of times when I was on the Slaughter Shaft, I noticed my sprinting would get stopped halfway, maybe because of some splash damage that was being taken into account on my character. It would mess up her movement speed, so I wouldn't be able to sprint at all times. But it's best represented in our Graveward kill, where we just keep running and we kill them before we even reach the end of the platform. It was very easy kill there. Since the lifesteal is only when sprint, you want to try to be sprinting as much as possible. Now it's okay if you don't sprint during some parts because you're dealing crazy amounts of damage without the sprint anyway, so it doesn't really matter. But for the most part, you want to try to get as many amp shots as possible, so try to sprint as long as you can. Remember, it's okay if you can't sprint when you're mobbing. It's a little tricky during some areas. Now earlier I mentioned being able to use a Deathless. Now the reason why I say a Deathless is because Deathless increases our maximum shield. This allows us to not get as many amp shots in, but allows us to survive better. When you're mobbing, I recommend a Deathless. DapperHamsteaks also recommends a Deathless, any type of Deathless you want. It helps really, really well. I like a Snowdrift Deathless personally because I like to run around the battlefield and get to a position where I can sprint and shoot at the same time. Snowdrift Deathless, in my personal opinion, is the best one, but you could always experiment with something else. But for most purposes, you would just want to keep the Pearl on. The Pearl increases your damage by exponential amounts, so you just want to keep the Pearl out as much as possible, unless you have a really hard time with certain mobs. Then you want the survivability of a Deathless. Now, Deathless doesn't mean anything if you can't be sprinting, so always remember to be sprinting at all times because you want to get your shields all the way. Once you have a Deathless equipped, you no longer have your invulnerability frames when you reduce your health to a certain amount. There's a certain threshold that Borderlands 3 and I believe Borderlands 2 has. When you reach a certain health threshold, you get like a, I think it's 3 seconds of vulnerability. You don't get that anymore with Deathless, so you can be one shot, but it's a huge trade-off and really beneficial to get the extra shields and your survivability increases. So since we're using a It's Piss, you could always be throwing out grenades and shooting at the same time, but I personally don't like to use the It's Piss for that purpose because you cannot sprint and throw grenades at the same time, so that ruins your momentum a little bit. So for the most part, the It's Piss grenade is just a pocket item to have the anointment on. We're also using Short Fuse on this build, which increases our damage by exponential amounts because Short Fuse takes into account how much damage you're dealing, and since we're shielding a ton of bullets, you're just able to get a lot of Short Fuses out there, increasing their damage by a crap ton. If you're not using Short Fuse, you notice that your damage is significantly less than what it could be, so you always want to make sure you spec into Short Fuse. Now the preferred bloodletter we like to use is one without thin red line. Now, we want to not have any thin red lines because we don't want our healths to be too low because we want to have a certain threshold. And we want as many points as we can get into Desperate Measures. Desperate Measure increases our damage by exponential amount, so you always want to have that on there as many as you can. I have max. Just got really lucky with that one. The rest will just be filler with the shield defense icon here. Now the amp shield I'm using is version 0.m. The reason why I'm using this particular amp shield is because not only do you get the 100% more damage from the amps from this shield, you also get the damage circle underneath you when you get down. So that helps you get up and get more second wings because you'll go into fight for your life often during certain parts when you're fighting tons and tons of badasses on Slider Shaft, but the version 0.m increases your damage whenever your shield gets depleted, so it doesn't even matter. You're gonna be able to always get up, and because we're able to shoot so many bullets, our fight for your life counter will always be increasing because every time we deal damage, we get fight for your life duration increase because of a certain guardian rank point called Too Angry to Die. This restores your meter every time you deal damage, and since we're shooting tons of bullets, we get our meter filled at all times. Even if you're dying like left and right and your bar is going down like whoop, you'll notice that it can't actually decrease because of how many bullets you're hitting. As long as you're hitting enemies, you're never going to die with Fight for Your Life, so you're looking pretty right there. And since we have infinite ammo for the most part because of our terror anointments, we're able to just stay and fight for your life, stay alive as long as possible, constantly shoot, never reload, deal millions of damage. You just got it all in this build. It's awesome. Now, it can be really frustrating trying to get the right reload bonuses, so follow my tips before. You want to look for as many red lines as possible. The more red lines, the better. If you're not seeing any red lines, I would instantly reload. You want your gun to look like a Gatling laser. Because if it doesn't look like a Gatling laser, you didn't get the right bonuses. Once you get the Gatling lasers, you're gonna be looking pretty. You're gonna be able to kill everything very quickly. I'm able to do any type of content fast and easy with this build. I highly recommend it. Those of you interested, here are my skill points. I have all the way down in the middle, all the way to Desperate Measures for the red skill tree. We have all the way down to Specialist Bear in the green skill tree. Want to make sure you get Rushing Offensive. If you don't get Rushing Offensive, you can't have infinite amp shots. so make sure you got that. It's pretty standard build right here, so just follow how you would normally make Moze, but make sure you get this because most builds don't use this. Just get this time. I promise you it's worth it. And then we go all the way down to the bottom of Demolicious Woman because we want to get short fuse. I primarily was optimizing Iron Bear with this build on the blue because there's nothing much that helps Moze herself, so we just want to get as many Iron Bear bonuses as possible and then get the short fuse as quickly as possible because that increases your damage by a crap ton. Here's Guardian ranks we have, and here's the Mayhem Multipliers we have. We got Big Kick Energy, Floor's Lava, Laser Flare, and Postmortem. Basic Mayhem modifiers you normally use, except for Floor's Lava. Since we're always moving, we never have to worry about that. And Big Kick Energy increases our gun damage, so you always want to have that with a gun focused build. If you guys want to see any of my other builds, I did a Peregrine plus Light Speed build with Flak. It spawns 4 grenades at once with each rack hit. It's absolutely crazy. I'd highly recommend it. Very, very fun. You steamroll everything. I was able to defeat the Guardian and Malawan takedown without firing a single bullet with just rack attacks. It's absolutely phenomenal. Now, if you want more Moze builds, we have a 50-50% flare build. It gives you tons of damage in Iron Bear and tons of damage out of Iron Bears. It gives you a perfect blend of Iron Bear and on foot Moze. So if you're looking for that, go click up there. We have a one-shot everything build with Zane using the Masterwork crossbow and newly buffed skills. That allows you to just one-shot everything. I did 1.5 billion damage on Graveward with one shot. It's absolutely crazy. And if you're looking for more Halloween terror builds, we have a Peregrine plus Gas Call. This build just summons tons and tons of skulls, so if you're looking for another face roll build where you don't have to shoot any bullets, click up there. Absolutely incredible. Just throw out grenades and throw out racks. That's all I have for today. I hope you guys like, comment, subscribe, and I hope you all have a great day. Bye-bye.
And the last shall be first to immerse in a pass out heat, facing him out with a moxie melt till he woke up drowning in tchotchke hell. War in a cave with a torch on a wall, then a window arrangement of porcelain dolls.